Welcome. You are in the lab room. I'm your host, Lou. Thank you for joining me. Week number 14, National Football League, the NFL Network dubbed this week Survivor Sunday. In the National Football League, and for good reason, there were a lot of matchups between teams looking to try to get into the postseason, jockeying for position within the postseason, and there were going to be some very telling matchups, this being one of them in week number 14. Cincinnati Bengals at home versus the Indianapolis Colts. Colts trying to come into the jungle and get a win. And a lot of people looked at this as a big matchup, one that was going to be compelling football. And I said, look, I think this is going to be a blowout. I mean, the Cincinnati Bengals were 5-0 going into this game at home. Been dominant for the most part all season long. Beat some pretty good teams at home this year. And so it's not like they've been beating up on the little sisters of the poor at home. They've been beating some quality opponents at home this season. And the Indianapolis Colts are struggling offensively, have been since the injury to Reggie Wayne. They've been falling behind in football games. They've got this nasty habit and a nasty trend. Them and the New England Patriots are falling behind early in games and then trying to come back and win those games. Andrew Luck is and has been the comeback master since coming into this league. And so he's pretty comfortable in that capacity, but who wants to fall behind all the time? And this isn't the team to fall behind to. Again, when you're playing Houston and you're playing Tennessee, yeah, you can spot those guys 17-point leads and 14-point leads and hawk them down. When you play good football teams on the road, like the Cincinnati Bengals, that are a top 10, top 5 defense in the league, and they can score points on the offensive side of football, try spotting those guys leads and thinking you're going to come back and see what happens. And so that's what I expected to happen in this game. They'd come out flat offensively, out of sync. Andrew Luck would be running for his life because the Cincinnati Bengals front would be coming after him, applying immense pressure, forcing them into some mistakes. And those turnovers or those lack of drives that aren't sustained would turn into points for Cincinnati. And that's exactly what I thought would happen. And lo and behold, that's what happens. So let's get to the board and break this game down through the eyes of me, Louie T. So 8-4 Indianapolis Colts versus the 8-4 Cincinnati Bengals. That's why this game was so important. This was not about, making the playoffs. Both of these teams are going to be in the postseason. This was more about which one of these divisional winners, and Indy has already clinched their division, but of course, Cincy has not. But which one of these divisional winners is going to be your 3 seed, potentially be your 2 seed? Because New England, there's no guarantees, and now with Rob Gronkowski out, you can definitely take that 2 seed from the New England Patriots. They're going to falter down the stretch. They're going to lose at some point. And the Cincinnati Bengals haven't already beat them. They've got the most logical chance, to beat the New England Patriots out for their 2 seed. So I'm looking at Cincinnati. I'm saying, why not you? Why don't you go and take that 2 seed and get that first round bye and make your road to the Super Bowl that much easier? Why not you? So Dalton to Jones for a 29-yard touchdown, capping a 10-play, 84-yard drive. 81 of those 84 yards were on the right arm of Andy Dalton. He started this game out sizzling hot, and I knew what kind of game it would be from just the start of this game. Andy came out sharp, and that was a beautiful catch by Marvin Jones on that play. He had to lay out for it in the end zone. It was a beautiful throw. It was a beautiful connection, and it's 7-0. And I saw the writing on the wall after that first possession. And yeah, this is going to be the good Andy today. Not any of that nasty bad Andy that I always look at him and I say, what are you doing, Andy? This is why this team is going to lose in the first round of the postseason. This is the Andy that I look at this team and I say, why not them? Why can't this team go to the Super Bowl? When you get good Andy, you get good Cincinnati. When you get good Cincinnati, you get a dangerous football team. So it's 7-0 in this football game. And the Colts' struggles continue. Adam Vinatieri misses a field goal after a productive drive by the Colts. And when Vinatieri misses, it's usually a bad omen for this football team because he doesn't miss that often. And you knew it was going to be that type of day for the Indianapolis Colts. They need all the points they can get, especially at the beginning of a football game, because they struggle at the beginning of games. They need to get, field goals. They need to get anything they can get on the board early in a football game. Bengals drive the ball down the field and score on a controversial touchdown call right before the half. And the NFL has already come out and said, hey, we made a boo-boo. We made a mistake. That wasn't a touchdown. And that was obviously not a touchdown. And how many times have we seen the league come out and say, yeah, hey, we made a mistake. Yeah, that's on us. This has been one of the worst officiating years in recent memory. And look, that's not counting last year's debacle with the replacement officials. I'm talking about a year from start to finish with the real NFL officials. This has been one of the worst officiated years in recent memory. Just about every week, the NFL has to release a statement saying, yeah, we botched that one. Sorry, guys. And yeah, we appreciate you telling us sorry after the fact, but if I'm Indianapolis, what does that do for me today? What does that do for me after the game has been played, after I take this L? Okay? You take that touchdown off the board. That was on fourth down, okay? It's not like that was third down and they could kick the field goal. That was on fourth down. You don't pick that up. The Indianapolis Colts have just gotten a stop in this game that could propel them to a victory. Who knows what happens after that stop? You have no idea what that could have done to the psyche of this Indianapolis Colts football team. That play right there changed the complexion of this game, because instead of this score being 7-0 and the Colts coming up with a huge stop that would give them the momentum in this game, they're down 14-0. And at that point, they're back into that danger zone. They're back into that mental block of, here we go again. We're down 14 again at the beginning of a game on the road against a good football team. How did we find ourselves here again? So that was a huge play. And the NFL and the officials dropped the ball on that play, but it happens. You just have to try to overcome these things during the course of a game, but that's hard to overcome. A touchdown, it's one thing to overcome a bad pass interference call that gets a team down to the 17-yard line. It's one thing to overcome a bad holding call or a bad, illegal contact call, but that's a touchdown on fourth down. When your team fought, scratched, and clawed inside the 5 to stop this team from getting into the end zone, only to have the officials make the wrong call and give them a touchdown. That's bogus, but again, there's nothing you can do about it as the Indianapolis Colts. All you can do is play football. On the first possession of the third quarter, Vontae Davis has an opportunity to pick off Andy Dalton, but doesn't. And this is another byproduct of not playing your best football. You got to pick that pass off if you're Vontae Davis. He's had a rough year. He started out this season really well, and teams have been picking on him of late, and it's just like things are starting to snowball. Early in the season, he picks this pass off because his confidence would have been way up. Now it seems like teams are picking on him. He's starting to have some mental lapses, some breakdowns. He's picking up a lot of pass interference penalties. They're going after him. They're completing passes on his side. He was by far their best corner early in the season. Now it's a struggle for him. He's struggling each and every single week. Not to mention, he's going up against some of the better receivers in this league. And in this game, he went up against, you're not fully green unless you're A.J. Green. And we know he's easily a top 5 receiver in this league. So, yeah, it's been rough for Vontae Davis, but you got to pick this pass off. Look, you want to come back. You're already trailing 14-0. Your team needs a pick-me-up. You need to pick that pass off. Instead, he doesn't. Since he capitalizes on that missed opportunity by the Colts, and they get a 1-yard law firm touchdown run on a 9-play, 80-yard drive to start this third quarter and this second half off. It's now 21-0. Essentially, the game's over at this point. To me, this game is done. Even though Andrew Luck is the comeback master, this isn't Tennessee. This isn't Houston. You're not coming back from 21 down on the road against a top 5 defense. Not happening. You can try, though. There's nothing wrong with that, and that's what Andrew Luck was going to do. Andrew Luck tries to bring his team back with a 69-yard TD strike to Derek Rogers. And this is a guy that's very intriguing to me, because here's a guy that went undrafted out of college and went to Buffalo. I thought that was a perfect landing destination for him because the Bills really, to me, didn't have a lot of talent at the receiver position. Of course, they went out and made some moves in the offseason to strengthen that position, mainly through the draft. But I looked at him in Buffalo, and I thought he was going to be dynamic for the Bills. And he gets into camp, and he doesn't do enough, and he's subsequently released. Colts pick him up, stash him on the practice squad, and he's been playing with them all season long on the practice squad, but he finally was pulled up a week ago and didn't have any catches in that game. And I said, okay, Derek Rogers is with Indy. He's going to have a shot. He gets on the field in this game, and he's starting to have an impact. This is a guy that can help you pick up the slack in the absence of Reginald Wayne. I think this is a guy that you could look to help, alleviate some of that pressure off of T.Y. Hilton because his numbers have declined sharply since he's been inserted as the guy. It's one thing when you're the number 2, the number 3 option. When Reggie Wayne was in the lineup, teams are focusing in on stopping Reggie Wayne. You're T.Y. Hilton. You can get behind the secondary, take the top off the defense, make big plays. Now that they know that you're the only threat on the offensive end that can beat them, it's hard. It's tough when they put their number 1 corner on you or you're getting double coverage and teams are paying attention to you. So maybe Derek Rogers, a guy like this, can come in and take a little bit of the pressure off of a guy like T.Y. Hill because Darius Hayward-Bay definitely is not going to serve that purpose. So that was a huge play. Breaks a couple of tackles, was bad tackling on this play. But he's a big, strong kid, and he breaks those 2 tackles, gets into the end zone. First touchdown of his career. It's 21-7. Maybe, just maybe, let's see. A drive that started by a bad punt, then bolstered by a 29-yard luck run, and then the Bengals started playing flag football as LeVon Brazil catches a simple pass. I mean, this is a simple underneath route that should yield him about a 5 or 6 yard gain. All of a sudden, he turns up the field, and the Cincinnati Bengals start reaching for flags. And I said, did this turn into flag football? Did I miss something? Because guys are swiping at his hip, trying to pull the towel out of his hip instead of trying to bring him down to the ground. And he runs through about 4 arm tackles en route to a touchdown. From 15 yards out, it's 21-14 all of a sudden. Don't look now. But the Indianapolis Colts are only down 7 in this game after trailing by 21. But, like I said, when you dig yourself these kind of holes, the only way you can get out of that hole is to stop digging. But when you dig a 21-point deficit on the road versus a really good football team, you're not coming all the way back. It takes so much energy to come all the way back that even if you make it back, chances are you're going to falter because it took so much energy to come back. Much like a basketball game, you're down 21 late in the third quarter. You make a furious run in the fourth quarter, cut the lead to 5, only to lose the game by 13. Happens all the time. That's the same thing that happened here. But that's as close as the Colts would get. Pass interference by Vontae Davis. Told you he's been struggling this season. Personal foul by LaRon Landry. He literally tried to take a Cincinnati Bengals player's head off. Literally. I mean, helmet, everything, neck, all that. Tried to detach it. Got a 15-yard personal foul penalty. Leads to a Jermaine Gresham 1-yard touchdown. It's 28-14. Cincinnati ran away with the game from there. Never really looked back. You get an A.J. Green. You're not fully green unless you're A.J. Green. You get an A.J. Green 6-yard touchdown grab. Extends the lead to 35-14. Colts strike back, but then Andy Dalton runs it in. And this is a 42-28 beating at the hands of the Cincinnati Bengals. Again, if you're the Indianapolis Colts, I didn't expect you to win this game. I didn't expect this game to be close, and it really wasn't. And you got to stop falling behind. But I think the one silver lining in this beatdown was the fact that I think Derek Rogers is a guy that can help you down the stretch. And as he gets more comfortable in this offense and you start to, find ways to get him the football and you see what ways he excels at, I think that's a guy that you can really implement into this offense and get some production out of because Darius Hayward-Bay is a guy that I think you got to get rid of him in the offseason. He is not someone that you can rely on. He isn't a guy that you really want to throw the football to in situations where you need a grab. If it's not a crossing route that hits him square in the chest where he can body catch the football, if you ask him to catch the ball with his hands, you can forget about it. He's not going to catch the football. And so I think Derek Rodgers could be a guy that can step in and really give you some production and ultimately help you offensively sustain drives, put up more points, and stay in ball games early on because this trend that you're starting to have where you fall behind each and every single game is starting to get old quick and you're not going to win. And again, we're coming down the stretch. You've already clinched a playoff berth. You already won your division, so you're going to be in the postseason. Everybody's good in the postseason. There are no more Tennessees. There are no more Houstons for you to start slow against and come back and win. Everybody's good. So you get in the postseason and you want to start slow against Kansas City, you're not winning that football game, okay? You're not going to win that game. So if you're the Indianapolis Colts, you got to start faster. And maybe a guy like Derek Rodgers can help you, along with Kobe Fleener, along with T.Y. Hilton, along with Levon Brazil. It's got to be a collective effort. And it'd be nice if you could get something out of the run game, too. Oh, by the way. But that seems to be a lost cause at this point with the way your running game is situated. I just don't know if you can get much out of that either. I think you might have squeezed all the juice out of that lemon already. So we'll see. But Cincinnati did what I expected them to do. They're a really good football team. They go to 9-4 in the season. If not for a miraculous comeback by the by the New England Patriots, this is a team that is your number 2 seed in the AFC. Instead, they're still the number 3 seed. But that was a quality win at home against an Indianapolis Colts team that will be in the postseason. So Colts dropped to 8-5. Again, it's all about seeding for them. They can finish no worse than 4th in this conference, being that they're a divisional winner. So they're fine. They'll be probably the number 4 seed. There's no probably about it. They'll be the number 4 seed come seasons. And with this loss, hard for me to imagine them finishing better record-wise than the Cincinnati Bengals, and the Bengals now own the tiebreaker over them. So they'll be at probably the 4th seed in the AFC conference. But they'll get a home playoff game. Let's see what they do with it. They need to fine-tune their offense in the meantime leading up to the postseason. So that'll do it for this installment of In the Lab Room. I thank you for joining me. If it happens in the National Football League, whether big or small, we cover it all here in the Lab Room. I thank you for joining me. Look, I've got plenty more games to break down in week number 14 of the National Football League.